Hi everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. I've got some really good news for you today because the new patch has just dropped today, and I've been doing a whole bunch of testing here on Doom Tower because Doom Tower, especially the bosses, just became an awful lot easier, especially for farming them quickly, farming them efficiently, because we can now completely customize what moves our champions are going to use on each different round, each different wave of the fight, which is phenomenal. I actually took down Dark Fae 120 today using Yakarl the Scourged. I'm going to show you that a little later on. But just to show you some of the things that you can change now. And by the way, I do highly recommend you go through and double check all of your pre-made teams. Okay, all your pre-made teams for Doom Tower, Faction Wars, Dungeons especially, because this update is probably going to have broken them a little bit. But to give you an idea, so for example, against the Griffin, we can make our Griffin runs much more consistent. So how have I set this up? Basically what I've done is I've come in. So let's say Drexthar, for example. Okay, I actually want Drexthar to priority 1 in round 1 and 2, his AoE, right? Burning Lash. This is the #1 priority. Big AoE hit. Fantastic stuff. When we get to the Griffin boss, though, turn it off. Don't want him to use it. He doesn't need to use his AoE. Just use his A1, triple hitter, get the most out of Giant Slayer masteries, and also have that chance to place the burn and to heal himself as well. Much better move than Burning Lash, especially because Griffin can cleanse himself of debuffs, throw them back onto us. In a similar fashion then, under Priest Brogni, he can do whatever he wants on wave 1, right? Do whatever you want. On round 2, though, don't use Resilient Glow. Ooh, now this is interesting. We can turn this off for round 2. Why are we doing this? Very simply, so that he will come to the boss and he'll have Resilient Glow available. We could even turn it off on wave 1 if we need to as well. And then when we get to the Griffin, this is how I have it set up, that he's going to open with Deep Crystal Scourge. Why? Because my Brogni is faster than the Griffin on whatever the highest floor. So he's going to come in. Now, I don't have to sort of, come up with these weird auto strategies where he happens, if we get weak hits or something goes wrong in the run, we're trying to rely on which ability randomly comes up. Now we can control it because the Griffin on his first move removes all buffs from your team and does bonus damage based off of it. For his second move, he tries to cleanse himself of debuffs and put them onto your team. So now we can say, Brogni, you're always going to have your shield with block debuffs available. We come into round 3, open with your A1. Then the Griffin cleanses our buffs. That's fine. Then Brogni comes in, and then Brogni puts on block debuffs. Then he puts on increased attack. The shield buff can't be removed, so that doesn't really matter. But he puts the shield buff on then, and that means that every single time now, consistently, when the Griffin comes in, he tries to strip our buffs, but the buffs aren't there, and then he will try to put debuffs onto us. But between those two moves, Brogni's put block debuffs on, so there's no debuffs coming back at us, which is absolutely huge. So you can set up stuff like that, which is really creative. I'm not going to show you Griffin here today. You kind of get how it works. Now, the two bosses I've been farming in this rotation are Bommal and the Dark Fae. They give the best sorts of gear. Now, I farm Bommal 50 because my Bommal 90 team is not full auto. But check this out, and how much more reliable we can make it. So, for Bommal, right? Here's one of the issues we can run into. Guess what? Geomancer with Quicksand Grasp. It's a 3-turn cooldown. But we really want him to do this as the first move against Bommal. Makes it much easier. Well, here's what I can do. Turn off his 2 moves on round 1. Turn off his 2 moves on round 2. He's just going to be spamming his AoE attack. That's fine. I mean, we could even leave him doing Creeping Petrify. There's probably enemies he can steal off of. And I think, in wave 2, he can steal buffs off of some enemies. So we'll leave him to do that. That's fine. But when we get then to Bommal himself, Quicksand Grasp, #1 priority. I'm going to show you this in action, which means now that every single time that we get to Bommal, Geomancer is going to open with Quicksand Grasp. Now, I can also do the same with my Vogoth, right? Vogoth, use your AoE attack with your Provoke on the waves. First priority, get the AoE damage out, get the Provokes out, prioritize those on the waves. But when we get to that boss, don't do any more AoEs. Just spam your A1 for maximum damage from Giant Slayer and for chances to extend the debuffs on the target, chances to extend Geomancer's burn to give us better coverage and make it more consistent. And I can do that across the board with all my Vogoths and it becomes much more consistent. So if we dive in here and we take a look at this, we're going to skip most of this. I'll edit it out, but you can see we get into wave 1 and my Vogots, they're going to be spamming their AoE whenever they have it off cooldown. Geomancer, he's just going to be doing his A1. So, we're happy. We're good. In fact, I could actually leave him with Tremor Staff on. Or, sorry, I could leave him with the Buff Steel on as well. He could remove buffs from these Scartorsuses. That would work too. But yeah, let me come back to you when we get to the boss, and we'll see how it goes. This is still not quite 100% run because I got 2 level 50 Vogots. So I'll definitely edit it and show you a run where it actually does work, and you'll see exactly how much more consistent it is. All right, there we go. We're coming to the end of Wave 2. We're on to the boss, and boom! Every single time now when we get to the boss, Geomancer has his burn ready to go. And look at this. The Vogots, they're not doing their AoEs. Look at the debuff counter on the boss. We have 6 turns of burn. The burn is firmly secured at this point. Fantastic stuff. We're good to go. Now there's still a lot of randomness in terms of whether or not this will work, just in terms of do we get stunned, yada, yada, yada. Geomancer's going to keep doing his move to decrease the boss's turn meter, which is good for us. Also spawns in extra bombs, big bombs, dread bombs, which we are obviously exploiting with this triple Vogoth composition. Because you can see how much healing we get when those dread bombs go off. So this should actually be a nice, quick run. Like I said, this is not 100% consistent. I think it would be if the Vogots were level 60. They would just heal more, right? So it's not 100% consistent, but it mostly works. There is obviously randomness on our deflection set, which we do have Geomancer wearing in terms of whether it throws it back or not. But you get the idea. This is now a much more consistent auto strategy. Bam, look at that. A 4-minute run. It's going to take us about 4 minutes to farm this. We obviously have super raids in Doom Tower now, so we can spend 2 of these silver keys at once. And we can just come in and we can just start ripping through floor 50 Bommal with this composition here. Something like this would probably work on floor 90, but again, you'd want to probably have these Vogots geared specifically for it, which I don't have. But hey, it gives you an idea. I shouted too loud there. I'm sorry. I got excited. It gives you an idea for what can work. Now, when we come to the Dark Fae, this one is even more important because when you get to Dark Fae, she copies your team. This is the team I can use, and this works on full auto. I've tried it a couple of times. It's not 100% consistent because the Dark Fae, she can put True Fears out, and the True Fears can mess us up. But guess what? We can make this work. We can put in Arbiter now, and it works, which is completely crazy, right? If we put in Arbiter before, look, Arbiter's got a bunch of moves. She's got a bunch of moves, and if she gets to the boss and she does not have Mentor of Heroes ready to go, what's going to happen? Arbiter's my fastest character. If my Arbiter has Mentor of Heroes in a 2 or a 1 turn cooldown, whatever it is, and she can't do it, the other Arbiter is going to go first. With the one they copy, she is going to have Mentor of Heroes, and we are going to get wiped. What can I do now, though? I can come in. I could say round 2. Check this out. This is actually really fun. I can have her not use Mentor of Heroes, but do use it once as the opener on wave 2, just so we clear through the wave a little bit faster, but don't use it again. So wait until it's back. Then we come in on round 3, and now she's coming into round 3, and she's going to have her 2 turn meter boosting things available and ready to go because we've turned them off for wave 2, which makes it way more consistent. Prince Kymar, same thing. Obviously, this is a little bit of a pay-to-win team. Well, it's not pay-to-win because I didn't pay any money for any of these champions. But, it's more of an endgame team, obviously. But just to give you some ideas, but like he's got this turned off. The important thing here is basically we want a really fast crowd control champion. You could use Vizix. My Vizix is only 230 speed, so she's not fast enough. But you could have Vizix, free login reward, 100% chance to provoke, make her fast enough, and set her to not use her crowd control move on at least onto wave 2, so that you come into wave 3, and boom, we have it locked in. It is ready to go. So now every single time when we get to wave 3, every single time now, we are always going to open with Arbiter. If someone dies in wave 3, she'll revive and then boost us, which is actually maybe better. And then Kymar is going to sleep them all. And then my nukers can come in. I've got Yakarl and I've got Ninja. We actually have some really fun stuff happening with Yakarl as well. So, for example, with him and Ninja, I have basically turned their moves off. Yakarl's AoE is a 5-turn cooldown unbooked, so I don't want him to use it at all in wave 2. He probably could, and we'd get away with it, but just for safety's sake, we won't. And then it's actually a fun thing with him. Check this out. Yakarl's AI actually defaults into using Blizzard Rider first. So this is a pretty cool thing. He defaults into using Blizzard Rider. He doesn't default into his AoE. So what I can program him to do, which is really fun with Prince Kaimar in combination, I can program Yakarl to open with his AoE, but then to prioritize Blizzard Rider from then on. So basically, he's going to wipe out the enemy team that she clones at the start. But then whenever Prince Kaimar resets our cooldowns when we're fighting the boss, after that, he's always going to go into Blizzard Rider, which steals 100% of the target's turn meter and can put decreased speed, can put increased speed on him. So he's basically always going to be prioritizing this turn meter steal against the boss. It's really fun, actually. Again, my Carl's not in crazy gear or anything, but let's dive into this. Like I said, it's not 100%. It's not 100% run, but nonetheless, you check out this team, and you could actually build a team like this that is going to work really consistently. Unfortunately, I can't get my Ninja to be faster than your Carl. I have to re-gear Ninja, but it'd be even better if Ninja was faster, because then your Carl gets a ton of bonus damage after Ninja does his freeze, which would be really, really cool. But the idea here is that, look, Arbiter, she is, your first big mission reward. Sylve the Drake's a login champion. If you have Ninja, he was a login champion. So he was a guaranteed legendary. Obviously, you can't get him anymore. He just does a lot of damage to the boss. You could replace him with basically any other damage dealer, and you could make it work. It would be fine. You could make it work. It would be fine. You could put in something like, I'd say Inquisitor Shamael might be really good. Make it even more consistent, perhaps, because he gives you immunity to the true fear that the boss puts on you, which is cool. But yeah, you can see this. Look at this. We've turned off their abilities, so they're not wasting their abilities, which is awesome. So when we get to the boss, it's going to be much more consistent. So check this out. Look, we get to the Dark Fae, and now because of our AI setup, every time Arbiter opens with this, then we sleep them. Syl does her stun. We get the AoE here. Unfortunately, we didn't quite kill their Kaimar. Now, this is where it can get scary. We basically need Ninja to kill. There we go. Good, he did it. We need him to kill Yakarl. And from here, it's pretty much plain sailing, right? It's super good. So this was a boss that obviously we could have done this strategy before this, but it would have to have been on manual, because in order to get through all of those waves and for it to just happen to line up just right, that Arbiter would come in and she would have her turn meter boost with increased attack, that she would have that ready, and that Kaimar would have his AoE sleep. The chances that both of them would have those two moves ready, and your Carl would have his AoE ready and all that. Okay, this could get nasty. So we got True Feared. This is where it gets scary. One advantage here as well, check this out. Because your Carl defaults into Blizzard Rider, because he defaults into... Okay, it didn't work. But because he defaults into it, it gives us a chance to come back in, right? It gives us a chance. I'm going to show you that this does work, just so in case you don't believe me. But because he defaults into a single target hit there, it gives us a chance to actually kill him. Even if he does get a move, we can come back in. I'll rerun this and we'll come back when we actually get to the boss. I'll actually click Sifi, make it go a little bit faster as well. That was kind of funny. Oh, so we're back to the boss. I was actually not even looking. I was off doing some other stuff. We'll see if it's going to work. So certainly, as you can see, one slight issue with my team is that because my Yakarl isn't in amazing gear yet, I'm I think I'm pretty certain to put him in my best gear. And he's now a pretty high priority for me to book. I think he's amazing. We do, by the way, there is, if you saw on the loading screen, there's a new head for the Hydra. If that head for the Hydra is vulnerable to freezes, if freezing is part of its mechanics, you bet I'm going to book Yakarl. Otherwise, I really should be booking champions like Shamrock and stuff that might be more useful at the beginning to get through some more Hydra stuff. I'm kind of prioritizing Hydra, but yeah, Yakarl, he's high up my list. So we'll see if we can actually make this one work. It should be pretty consistent. Yeah, I mean, the point of this is, though, you can see this is a really fast run. So even if it's not 100%, I mean, even if this is only a 50% run, oh, he actually got resisted there. That's a little unlucky. Even if it's only 50%, it's not a big deal, right? Not a big deal. It takes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes to do the run. We can just stick it on multi-battle, especially with the super raids, and we can just run it through few times, and then we can just farm Dark Fae 120 hard, and it's so consistent. And there's just no way that this composition would have worked before. People were really relying on champions like Herndig. Herndig obviously is an amazing champion in general, but Herndig has 2 AoEs, and his A1 gives him an extra turn. If he kills someone. So you put in a really squishy team with really fast, really high damage Herndig, And basically it meant that no matter which move Herndig had available when we got to this wave, he would either one-shot them all with his AoE, or he'd go into his A1, he'd start one-shotting people with his A1 and getting extra turns. So he could just kill your whole team no matter what. That was actually our fastest run. That's pretty cool. So let's say it takes about 3 minutes, this particular team. That's pretty cool, right? Again, Prince Kymar's not essential. You could put in Physics. If I was putting in Physics, let me show you what I would change. Oh, not this button. I want to go to, edit team. Edit team. I think Physics could work really well here, but you would want her to be fast, right? That would be the thing that you'd need to change to auto this. So if I was putting in Physics, she'd want to be, again, speed tuned with your Arbiter to always go second, to go before the enemy team's Arbiter. That would be very important. But Physics would be great. So we could come in with Physics, for example. This is a perfect skill set for this. She has an AoE decreased speed. She has an AoE provoke, and then she has a single target turn meter depletion. So we could say for round 3, we actually don't want her to be putting ally protection on, because Dark Fae can steal that. She does get some turns. That's bad. She also doesn't need to use this except for the opener, and then just use this. So basically with this setup, what will happen is that Physics will come in. We'll even go into round 2. We'll say in round 2, do not use single combat. Let's have her actually open up the fight with a single combat. That will work just fine. So round 2, she won't use it. Means she gets to the boss. On her first turn. Again, if we had her about 280 speed, so speed tune nicely with our Arbiter. Arbiter boosts us up. Then Physics comes in, smacks out an AoE. 100% chance to provoke. Provokes our entire team. And then Ninja can finish it off, or your Carl can finish it off, or whatever champions you happen to have in there. And then once that is done, Physics is just going to keep spamming her A1 from then on. She's just going to keep stealing the boss's turn meter. Fantastic. So it gives you really good control over it. So yeah, the Dark Fae has just basically changed from being one of the... Who did I have? I can't remember who I had in here. I'm going to have to check. Oh yeah, it was Kymar. Dark Fae has gone from being one of the hardest bosses to farm, I would say, to being one of the very easiest bosses to farm. And that's completely crazy to me. She's become super, super easy to do now on full auto thanks to this change, which is just fantastic. So actually, he can leave that on default, and he can open with Abyssal Gaze. And we just leave him to it, and that should cover things. Boom. There we go. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Guys, let me know if you have any teams that have changed. If you have any cool ideas for stuff that could be done differently and so on to make these runs really smooth. Yeah, let me know. I'm very curious to hear your ideas, but I'm super happy with this. It's going to make it so much easier to farm Doom Tower. If we compare Doom Tower a month ago, where we did not have this AI, we did not have super raids, if we compare that to now, it's so much more convenient to farm these bosses, which is absolutely huge. I will do more on this AI setup as well. Stay tuned. I will do more for getting through the waves and stuff. I think it adds a lot, especially to Hex-based teams. It makes Seer-based teams as well. Obviously, any sort of really big nuking wave clearing team, it makes it much more consistent and easier to program with Renegades and Kymars. You can now really control it. But anyway, plenty of stuff already in today's video. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did enjoy it, like the video, subscribe. You can consider joining the channel as well and supporting me directly. I really appreciate that. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.